self-recrimination.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to today's Caffeine for the Soul. And if you like the things that I talk about each week in these podcasts, I recommend checking out our Inner Circle Platinum. And if you go to michaelneill.org/inner circle, it's a place where you can get access to videos and programs and interactive events with me, all included as a sort of a one-stop shop to go deeper in this conversation. But today's podcast I wrote about this recently, and I was remembering when I was a teenager, and I saw the movie Jesus Christ Superstar for the first time with some friends. And there were a couple of girls in our friend group who got into a conversation about who was the sexiest Jesus. Now, this was early 80s sexiest Jesus. So Robert Powell and David Essex, don't know if you remember them, but they were the top of the list. And apparently hot Jesus has blue eyes, great hair, and a British accent, in case you're wondering. And I remember somebody else musing out loud about whether or not Jesus ever had bad hair days, which I did find funny even at the time. But bizarrely, that question's kind of stayed with me. Not literally. I've been to the desert. I'm sure anyone who's lived in a desert has bad hair days. But philosophically, has there ever been anyone in the history of humankind who's never experienced a moment of self-doubt, self-recrimination, or self-loathing? Now, if you're still with me, and I understand if you're not, but then the title should have really warned you, I would like you to consider a possibility. What if being yourself as you are is the only thing you need to do to wake up to your full magnificence and potential? What if you were meant to think what you think, feel what you feel, do what you do, and want what you want, even if those thoughts and feelings and actions and desires change over time? What if you could enjoy the fact that sometimes you feel like a genius and sometimes you feel like an idiot? What if it was possible to find your moments of acting like a petulant 2-year-old as adorable as you do in the behavior of an actual 2-year-old? So I was doing a coaching intensive with a client, and my client brought up a behavior that they were finding problematic because from time to time, they felt uncomfortable in team meetings and found themselves just kind of talking. In my family, we used to call it empty vesseling. Like if you leave an empty bottle outside in the wind and it kind of whistles, sort of empty vesseling. Well, so they found themselves empty vesseling just to feel like they were contributing something. And to me, there's just something so adorably human about getting insecure at random times throughout the day and then giving ourselves crap about it afterwards. And while I'm listening to this client sort of pouring their heart out to me, so many examples of my own moments of insecurity came to mind that I could barely choose just one to share. But what I went with was this time, and I was surreptitiously glancing at a really pretty girl in a bookshop, only to have her come right over to me and ask me if I was Michael Neill and begin to tell me how much my books had helped her. And I got so uncomfortable that I ran out of the shop and did not stop until I was 2 blocks away, out of breath and laughing at the extremity of my reaction. And I went on to say to the client one of my favorite stories that just points to the difference between accepting our flaws or working on our flaws and genuinely just embracing them as just part of who we are. So, in ancient times, it was rumored that there was a guru who lived in the remote mountains of the Himalayas, whose very presence could heal your biggest problem in life. A sincere, if slightly jaded seeker set out to find this guru, determined that if there was any chance the guru could help him with his problem, the challenges of the journey would prove worthwhile. While he only had one problem in mind when his journey began, by the time he arrived at the base of the mountain where the guru lived in a cave high above the clouds, his list had grown. So by the time he actually reached the entrance to the cave, there were now 51 problems he wanted the guru to help him with, each one as seemingly important as the one before it. The guru received him kindly, offering tea and listening patiently as the seeker ran through his list, unsure which of the 51 problems was the biggest, but hoping the wise guru could help him decide. When he was finished, the guru looked at him with compassion in his eyes and said, I am sorry, my friend, but I can't help you with a single one of the problems on your list. You see, when a human being is born, it is ordained that they will carry with them 51 problems throughout their life. The content of those problems can change, but the number never will. Seeing the disappointment in the man's eyes, the guru went on to say, I can, however, help you with your 52nd problem. The seeker, whose heart had sunk in disappointment, looked at the guru with renewed hope. What's my 52nd problem? He asked. The idea that you're not meant to have the first 51, the guru replied. Now for me, I spent much of my life, I want to say adult life, but really from about the age of 12, actively engaged in this kind of quest for self-mastery and perfection. And I meditated at 4 a.m. and I became certified in 9 therapeutic and healing modalities. And I worked on myself with an insane amount of commitment, which was ironic because I also gave myself an extraordinary amount of crap about how I just wasn't committed enough to solve all my problems and overcome all of my failings. So when I first heard the Scottish mystic Sid Banks say that every human being is sitting in the middle of mental health, they just don't know it. And I realized beyond a shadow of a doubt that it was not only true, it included me. I snorted beer out my nose, and I laughed and I cried for, it had to be 10 minutes. Because it had been so long since I wasn't trying to fix or improve or work on some aspect of myself that I didn't know what to do with myself. I genuinely, this always sounds like a line, but I had so much free time, I beat every level of Angry Birds with 3 stars because I just didn't know what else to do anymore. And eventually I settled and I found that there were other things that I wanted to do with my time. And from time to time, I still think there are things I need to work on, and I mostly find that cute. I like that I like what I like. I like that I don't like what I don't like. I enjoy my occasional bouts of inappropriate competitiveness, and I enjoy my moments of utter clarity and profound stillness and well-being. And to my own surprise, I kind of like being me, bad hair days and all. And if you're willing to stop making yourself into one of your 51 problems even for just a minute, you might well find the secret to heaven here on earth. So, just consider this week, what would it be like if there was nothing wrong with you? No, really. And you were just here to be who you are and do what you do. Have fun, learn heaps, happy exploring, and I'll talk with you soon.